easy to get distracted by those next steps, but you must stay focused on the right now. And this man up in the top left, after a grueling game number 1, leads the series 1-0. He is from SK Telecom T1. It is INnoVation.
And his opponent is spawning in the northeast position, the red Terran player from Team Liquid. He is TaeJa. And Day9, I don't think there could have been less predictable builds, man. Gas first from both players once again. This is, you know, I talk about on Nimbus, it's like, well, you do it because people will use this to counteract any greedy builds on a big map. But now you're on the small map. This is where these builds were born. This is where you find them in their natural habitat and where they are the most dangerous.
Early gas builds. I mean, the Banshee is just always a threat. I don't care what the map is. All of them have the sky, so the Banshee's more than at home. But on this map in particular, medevac play is really nice. You have a wide stretch of your outer main that can be easily dropped. I mean, look at this. Look at this map designer saying, dude, please put the drop right here at this pier. Please. Look, there's even a landing zone there.
Yeah, I mean, maps like this are why Bomber does that trick where he just puts his factory and barracks at the front of his main ramp, because he's like, I need supply depots to watch the edges of my base. And, you know, as someone who plays Terran, I can tell you there's lots of times where the person not having that depot there just gives you a free win, because you're able to get your Hellions, your Marines in there. They played a little bit too greedy, or they didn't go gas first, and they just don't have enough units to stop the early pressure that can come out. So far, INnoVation has picked the same follow-up to his gas first, the Reaper with the quick second gas, so we could just see the same thing again, but no second gas from TaeJa leaves me to believe we may have that Hellion play.
Oh, I love that Marine Hellion medevac push. So effective. And I actually think INnoVation might just do the exact same thing as last game. Get the Reaper, the Hellion, get the Raven. I mean, he's again just saying, dude, I have better late game than you.
Yeah, the really frustrating part about this is last game we had the Scout denied by the Reaper. This game, the Reaper gets denied by the Hellion. Yeah. So INnoVation finds, you know, the shoe is on the other foot in this situation where he's not necessarily aware of what TaeJa's up to. And he may open Raven again in a position where I think a Banshee would also be a solid call. Actually going straight for Viking, he's a little bit concerned about what's coming out of TaeJa's base. That Reaper's going to try to swing in once again, and it will be the opening with the Marine Hellion, and if Widowmine as well.
Now this is interesting. Oh, is he going to see the mine? Is he going to see the mine? He does. He sees it. That is going to hurt a lot. This is an opening that looks a lot like a Hellion-based play.
And this is such an important read because now he knows where he needs to keep his units to defend. The Reaper manages to escape. That medevac has loaded up for TaeJa, but you're right, Day9. Because of this, he doesn't have to worry about catching Hellions at the edge of his base. He just needs to keep the Widowmine away from his mineral line.
Now the Reaper is going to be running and gunning for that Hellion. Nah, he's going to sit in the corner.
This is so impressive to keep this, because if he gets another follow-up scout, you know, it's so valuable for him to know when that command center, for example, is being built. And he's going to jump up. He will be able to spot this. He knows it's not some sort of crazy one-base push like MMA brought out versus Bomber. He's in a very comfortable position to adapt to the choices that his opponent has made.
I mean, INnoVation is seeing everything. I mean, he may as well just be playing Archon mode and controlling TaeJa's base at this point.
He's in deep as far as the understanding of this strategy goes.
So I think TaeJa is going to take an approach that is very, very unique to TaeJa. He moves in with this drop and then goes, nah. I mean, every part of his build was to get this drop as fast as possible. And he went in and just said, you know, I don't think I'm going to get value out of this. It's more important to have the Marines at home, not to try to do some dirtily risk. The mine can be placed in a lot of interesting places in the map. And INnoVation now setting himself up for what looks like mech.
Yep, that second factory is coming to completion very quickly. He's been putting out those Vikings, and this setup, once more, with that reactor being built by the barracks on INnoVation side, he could get very fast, either a couple extra Vikings and go for a really heavy Hellion push, or you can go for Medivacs and do a Hellbat push. You know, this looks exactly like that super popular mass Hellion blue flame build that's been popping up more and more, but it's very easy to switch this into a heavy Hellbat drop style.
And just like we had on Nimbus, close positions are good for mech. Not quite as close here, but that little hump in the middle is very nice. If you can get your tanks up there, it sieges down almost everything that TaeJa holds dear. The Marine fell backwards. Whoops.
TaeJa, I like the way that he set himself up defensively, though. He kind of understands the risks that the Hellions bring. Like, this force, if that Widowmine isn't here, like, just a couple Marines aren't going to be enough. And I actually really like that TaeJa has opted for the same opener of this two-factory play. So, I mean, these fights, if we get into a Hellion versus Hellion battle and they both have blue Flame Day 9, the positioning just gets really crazy really fast.
Yeah, those are some of the highest variance fights in all SC2.
I think we pretty much just playing Twisted Metal at that point, just trying to get the best position for that line of fire with all these Hellions. Yeah. It gets pretty crazy.
So right now this is... Ooh. Well, this is everything revealed for everyone. Both players know what's up. It's now mech versus mech, and we've seen bio versus bio, we've seen mech versus bio, but mech versus mech is a little bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes even less about the trading and even more about the positioning, because that air advantage you get, you don't have the Marines to buy you another lease on life if those Medivacs go hovering over your army, or if they get the Viking control. You don't have the mobility to swing around. If you get attacked in the front and you do not have enough units, because you have the same army, there's no way to be effective with, like, splitting Marauders, for example. So a lot of it will come down to this air control. And really, that's why we're seeing such a heavy focus on the Viking production, much more so than any tank production for both players.
Yeah, if you have control of the skies, you can siege forward to have your tanks shoot his tanks, and then he has to spend a scan. Yeah. This is another little funky roundabout action. TaeJa can move out a little bit more freely. He has the Marines, he has the mine. But TaeJa, I'm starting to get worried about his air control. I mean, he needs to keep pace with INnoVation.
Yeah, like it's so funny how it works out, because it's either you have tanks and not as many Vikings, but even if you don't have a lot of tanks, the Viking count will allow you to land on any attacking tank. So you're in this, it's not necessarily a stalemate, but it's like, it would be a really bad idea for either player to attack the other because of how good landed Vikings are against Hellions. But this drop play from TaeJa, you know, like I said, you have so much space to drop. You don't have a depot watching that. It's a big target, and INnoVation's gonna lose some workers to these Hellions.
This is the big opportunity that TaeJa was looking for. He's rolling in, and those SCVs, they don't even need to start lining up. He is roasting so many workers. INnoVation, with the early expansion, still has 39 despite the losses of 10 SCVs. Yeah, but TaeJa is leaped ahead in supply.
Yeah, it's so nice. There's so many tiny things you get to pick up on as well. You're like, well, he still only has that one starport with the reactor. I don't need to worry about Banshees becoming a part of this. This Widowmine might be a hero.
Oh. Okay.
Well, better than losing one Viking, that's for sure. And now, like, this has happened. Like, you might actually just see him land all these Vikings, just go crazy. This Hellion battle could get really weird too. But with the tanks in the back, I really feel like it'd be quite a bold play for INnoVation to just land and go for it. These tanks are really wailing away, and INnoVation takes the ground lead with this force, and it's actually going to trade out his Vikings, but these Marines are doing a hell of a job for TaeJa.
The Marines are the heroes in this fight. TaeJa seizes air control. Supply 107 to 75.
INnoVation is in a really uncomfortable position. These tanks with that air control could allow TaeJa to just siege the natural while putting on tons of pressure with this Hellion drop. INnoVation can't afford to commit units to defend his main base, because as soon as he starts moving his units out of there, I mean, he's just going to swarm this. You can already see he's landed his Vikings. He has nothing ready to defend against this.
TaeJa halting on workers briefly because he's roasting all of them back home. Now leading 23 supply. I mean, those Blue Flame Hellions got the enemies to line right on up at the front under siege. A third expansion coming up for TaeJa, and this is the danger. You can out-vision your enemy's tanks, and TaeJa It looks like he's just going to try to go for the win right here.
Yeah, I mean, he's picked off the tanks of INnoVation, which means he can start to slowly inch his way forward. And with this medevac, he can position his units a bit more. His armory is now done, so he can turn these Hellions into Hellbats. And with that, this is just becoming increasingly difficult for INnoVation to stop.
INnoVation morphed everything into Hellbat mode, has to keep the Vikings landed. He can't run the risk of completely losing every tool he has to own the skies. And in the bottom left, INnoVation tries to sneak into expansion, but no. Single Marine kiting a building. That's way too much excess APM. And here we have the Vikings going directly into the main base.
He's really forcing him to make a tough call. How much can he send back? SCVs are going to fight. He's bringing the Hellbats back. And just that one tank might not be enough to stop if TaeJa were to try to force his way up this ramp. He has this Hellbat drop. He's really trying to pull him in a bunch of different directions. There's not enough here to deal with all of this.
TaeJa is aggressively harassing just 2 bases. The fact that he's able to find these windows is incredible. A single missed rally point. INnoVation in the chaos, not reorganizing his main base. In production, INnoVation has a single Thor. Blizz Observer A pausing the game. Must be a frustrating moment for these players. I mean, INnoVation in this situation trying to stay focused. He likely has a win.
Great. I've just received comms that INnoVation has decided that he would rather just go to the next map. So, because I guess he's kind of just, I guess he's admitted that he can't win this game. So we're going to go to King Staging Station next, it seems.
So since we didn't get a good payoff, I need some audience participation to help us. Imagine that we are at the height of the battle in Game 2, and TaeJa seems to be crushing down the natural expansion. INnoVation can't take it. GG!
Who would have thought he'd use 200 SCVs to break him?
Unbelievable, getting the chance to use the new Terran units and the Hellbats of old.